Now starting.
All
All
right,
attendees
hello.
are in listen-only
Welcome
mode.
to today's SpinGo webinar on how to promote your events on Google. Thanks for joining us. I'm glad you were able to take time out of your day for this presentation. We've got a great program lined up. My name is Jeff Liu. I'll be moderating today. Before we begin, I want to just make sure you're aware of the questions panel where you can submit your questions for a live Q&A following the presentation. And also, please note that today's webinar is being recorded and will be provided later for on-demand viewing. Today, I'm excited to present to you Jacob Baadsgaard, CEO and founder of Disruptive Advertising. Their agency uses conversion rate optimization and ROI-focused analytics to grow businesses. He has leveraged his 9 years of marketing experience consulting many Inc. 100 companies to build Disruptive from 0 to 28 employees and $4 million in revenue within its first 18 months, without funding. You can connect with Jake on Twitter at Jake Baadsgaard. So without further ado, here's Jake.
Hey, I wish it was 40 million and not 4 million. That would have been fantastic. But yeah, I'm excited to be here with you today and just go over some simple marketing principles that can help you more successfully promote your events and get greater attendance and get the word out there. So as we go through this, there's a few things that I'd like to review, but first and foremost, this stuff is fun. Marketing your events correctly, not only is it cost effective, you can grow your brand, and this is what I love doing. I'm very passionate about marketing, and I hope that some of these ideas, tips, and suggestions you can use and actually go and apply those and have a great impact on your business. So some of the things that we'll be reviewing today are pretty simple. How do you use Google to target the right audience and set up the campaigns to do so? We're also going to be reviewing how, once you've driven people to your site and tried to get them to register, how you can retarget those users and get a higher percentage of those coming to your site to register. The third topic that I want to review is how do you get the right landing page set up for your specific events in those locations, for those of you that are offering events in different locations, and how you can really set up a landing page that converts that traffic into registrants at a high rate. And then also there's a beta program on Google right now called Gmail Sponsored Promotions that I'm going to give you a sneak peek on, and how you can also effectively use that. And you should be able to get opted into that beta program. Just mention my name. Everyone at Google knows who I am. All right, so let's jump in and talk about some campaign targeting. All right, so my guess is you'd probably like the people on the left. People that just have credit card in hand and are ready to make that purchase and go. The reality is, from a marketing study that I was reading, 3% of your target audience is ready to buy at any given time. So not everyone's ready to buy, but those that are ready to buy, we should absolutely take advantage of those. And Google offers an excellent opportunity to target those users who have a high intent or high likelihood to buy. So for example, if I'm going to Google and saying, I'm looking for a 5K event to attend in Austin, Texas, man, I can't think of a better time to advertise to that person. They're looking for your event in your location. What other time could you advertise to them that would be more effective? They're ready to make that decision. They already know that they want your solution, and it's a perfect time to do that. Now, unfortunately, that's 3% of the audience. How do you get a hold of the other 97%? And that's where we start to talk about audience-based targeting. Are there specific demographics, geographical areas, income levels, gender, age, a number of things that we can use to really pinpoint who your audience is and then effectively get advertisements in front of them at the right time. So what I want to do is, rather than talk about this at too high of a level, I just want to jump in and show you some examples of how this works, and so you can see it in action. All right, so you've probably done a Google search at some point. I would imagine at least a few of you have on this webinar. So in this example, I'm just showing you, hey, I went and Googled 5K runs in Austin. And so you can see here, what Google allows you to do is to advertise on the search engine results page with your promotion. And in this particular situation, if I'm looking for 5K runs in Austin, Texas, these are the ads that I'm presented with. And so some of these are actually very effective and some of them are not. And what I want to do is to help you make sure that you're not making some of the same mistakes that a lot of groups are making when advertising on Google, that ends up making Google a lot of money and you not so much. So for example, with some of these results here, if we look at the pages that we're pointing to here, first off, right in the ads themselves, you can see that some of these are already showing ads for irrelevant locations, such as this one's for Salt Lake. And some of these other ones, as we click in, will show you what's going on here. But in this particular situation, what you would simply want to do is identify, okay, perfect. This is the event that I'm running, and anyone looking for this type of an event in my area, you simply go into Google AdWords. You can add those keywords. You can set up geographical targeting, and you can make sure that when someone's looking for your event or for something very similar to your event in your area, that you get your advertisements right in front of them at the right time when they're ready to make a decision. So when I'm referring to intent-based marketing, that's what I'm referring to. They already know they want what you have. They're looking for the solution. By all means, that is the best time you could possibly advertise to them. So getting this type of a campaign set up can really help you be successful. So audience-based targeting, for those that don't know about your event and don't know they necessarily want to participate in your event, how do you get that message in front of them? So I went and I was browsing around a couple of sites, and you'll notice here there's a banner ad on the right of this page. And I was on a website looking at different events in Austin, not necessarily knowing which ones I wanted to attend. And you can see here that there's actually a banner ad on this page. Most people don't think that banner ads are that effective anymore, and they're actually right. Banner ads are typically quite ineffective way to advertise unless you've got the right ad in front of the right people at the right time. So in Google, you actually have the ability to target this audience in a number of different ways. Some of my favorite ways to target is to actually set up ads that are based on a number of criteria. Only show my ad if they are this age, this gender, and they're in this geographical location. Their income level is above this amount. They're interested, in this case, running and have similar topics and interests. But the other thing that you can actually apply as a way to target this audience is, even with all those other filtering options applied, you can say, even with all of that, still only show my ad if certain words exist on the page. So in this particular example, I had to take a quick screenshot of it because I'm looking for 5K races in Austin and someone's trying to advertise mayonnaise to me. And so you can see that that message just makes no sense. That if I'm looking to run a 5K, probably the last thing I'm wanting to do is squirt some mayonnaise into my mouth. And so the idea here is, if the advertisers were targeting correctly and they were promoting a 5K event in Austin, Texas, they could simply say, okay, well, this is the audience I want to target, but even then, only show my ad if it says 5K race, Austin, somewhere on the page. Then that's the only time I want my banner ads to show. And so what you've done is you've really narrowed down your audience. And even though they weren't actively searching for that solution on Google, they are actively consuming content online looking for that solution. So you've been able to take a purely audience-based targeting strategy and then also introduce some intent to that by adding the right types of filtering and getting your ads in front of the right people. So, all right, you've set up a fantastic paid search campaign. People are clicking on your ads on Google, they're coming back to your site, they're signing up for your events, or a lot of them actually would not be signing up for your events because, of 100 clicks that you're going to get to your site, on average, 3% will sign up. But if you do it right, we can actually get that number up quite a bit. So, okay, perfect. We've got them to your site. They've experienced, they know what you're about, but they haven't quite yet made the decision to attend your specific event yet. So this is where retargeting comes in handy, and it's extremely effective and extremely inexpensive at the same time. So retargeting is simply this. I came to your site, whether that be through a paid ad on Google search, a banner ad on a website, organically, I clicked through an email. My mom told me about your website, so I came and checked it out. Well, I got there one way or the other. What you can do is actually cookie that user. Within Google AdWords, there's just a very small snippet of code that you can export and put on your website so that anyone that comes to the site, they will be cookied. And once they leave your site, you can actually start stalking those people around the internet, following them with your ads and staying in front of them until they finally buy from you. Retargeting, you've probably experienced that when you went through the Amazon checkout process, you decided last minute to not pull the trigger, you bailed, and then all of a sudden that product is following you for the next 10, 15, 20, 30 days. And at some point, maybe you buy it, or the other times you're like, hey, why is this ad following me around everywhere? Well, you get to become that stalker to your potential audience. And it's not creepy, it's freaking awesome. And what you do there is, on average, people typically are not willing to buy from you until they have experienced your brand at least 7 times. Now, there's a lot of studies that argue sometimes it takes more, sometimes it takes less. But for our purposes here, let's just assume 7 times. They need to experience your brand 7 times before they're willing or comfortable enough to buy from you. So with retargeting, what you're doing is, okay, great, they just came to my site. I know they're the right audience. Now I'm just going to follow them around wherever they go. So now whether they're on ESPN or on the Huffington Post or wherever they go, they're going to see your ads and you're going to stay top of mind as they're deciding which events to participate in. So again, retargeting, the cost per click is very low. It's usually in the 50 cent to $1 range. And you're only charged when they actually click on your ad. So even if they see your ad 100 times, but they never click on it, you actually wouldn't even be charged for that. So it's a great way to stay in front of them. Very inexpensive. For some paid search campaigns that my agency manages where they spend over $100,000 a month on search advertising, their retargeting campaign, sometimes even an aggressive one, is still only $1,000 or $2,000 a month. We're talking pennies on the dollar for awesome results with this practice. Okay, so now you've got a great paid search campaign up. You're running some banner ads. For the people that are coming to your site, you're now following them around. And now we want to make sure that when they do come back to your site, whether it be the first time or as a repeat visitor to your site, that they are actually converting. So let's come right back to our initial example and talk about a 5K run in Austin, Texas. What we want to do is we want to line up the keywords that they were looking for on Google with the ad copy that they're seeing here on the Google search results page. And what we want to do is then make sure that that landing page experience is very consistent with what they were looking for originally, so they feel like they found what they were looking for. So what I've done is I've actually taken a screenshot or two of the pages that I landed on when clicking through these ads. If any of you happen to be on this call and I clicked on your ad, I apologize. You can send me an invoice for that. All right, so let's look at the first one, the Dirty Dash. Here, we click on that. We're looking for a 5K in Austin, Texas, and I come to a page that's about a Dirty Dash in Utah. Now, chances are that is not going to be a relevant place for this particular person to be advertising. And so what happened here is, even though I'm in Utah, I'm searching for Texas, they need to make sure that their AdWords or Google campaigns are set up appropriately so that their ads don't show at the wrong time. So what's going to happen if I'm looking for a 5K in Austin and then I see a landing page for a 5K in Utah, which is actually not even necessarily a 5K? The chances are I'm not going to buy, and you're going to pay for traffic that's not converting. So then I went ahead and looked for events specific to Salt Lake City. And so here we've got the Thrill Seeker Stunt Run, and I was looking for for those types of events in Salt Lake and changed my search query on Google. They actually did a good job here of in Salt Lake, and right here above the fold you can see that this run is in Salt Lake with the location with some great features that they're describing here. That being said, one thing that I would still recommend here is that the headline of this page should be consistent with what they were looking for originally. So I would actually say the best run in Salt Lake City right as the headline, so that when they land on the page, they don't have to look around to figure out what's going on. Hey, it's just incredibly obvious that they're on the right page. They've got the information that they need. And I would also have a call to action and or a way for them to register above the fold. Not everyone is going to scroll down on your page, so you want to give them the opportunity to sign up without having to scroll down on your page as well. All right, so the last thing that I wanted to talk to you about today is pretty cool. It's called Gmail sponsored promotions. So within Gmail, they actually do provide advertisements based on the content of the emails in someone's inbox. And so simplistically, they're in Gmail. Google's, again, they know everything about you. Let's just accept that fact. And this just gives us a great opportunity to identify when we can target and advertise to these people. So if they're talking to someone about wanting to run or participate in an event, you can actually target within Gmail based on the content of their emails when you show your advertisements. So a couple of tricks and ways that we've found to be very effective with this is not only targeting the right keywords, so in this case to be consistent 5K runs in your location, but we've also targeted competitors. If you've got competitors in your area and you want to piggyback on that, you can actually target their terms in emails so that if they're seeing that, they'll also see your advertisement as an alternative. Gmail sponsored promotions are fairly new right now, but very effective, and the cost per click, for an event that you're running on Google search, maybe $5 a click, it depends. But here in Gmail sponsored promotions, you're often paying 7 cents for a click. So it's very inexpensive and you can get great results from it. So those are some ideas and tips and tricks that I thought would be helpful for you as you're looking for ways to promote your event using Google as an advertising platform. It's a fantastic model. You can get in front of the people that are showing intent, in front of the right audience, and create an experience that gets them to convert and to actually come and attend your event. So I hope you found these things to be helpful. The landing pages is where we actually see that a lot of groups are struggling, getting a really good landing page set up for that. So we're actually partnered with a group called Unbounce, which is the platform that we used to create landing pages, not only for my own business, but for our clients as well. It's a very easy do-it-yourself platform. And we've got a promo code in here. If you want to go try it out, there's nothing in it for Disruptive or for SpinGo. It's an awesome tool. I think you'd love it. You can get great pages put together. They did give us a promo code of Disruptive 2015, which gets you your first month free and 50% off your next 2 months. The platform's pretty inexpensive. It's like $50 a month. So it's nothing that's very expensive. So at this point, what we want to do is open up the next few minutes, about 10 minutes or so, for any questions, specific or more general, that you might have about some of the items that we've discussed today. Obviously, we're not going to have time to get to all of your questions, and I realize we've been pretty high level here. So if you have specific questions or concerns that you'd like to review, feel free to hit me up on Twitter at Jacob Baadsgaard, or just email me directly, and I'd be glad to lend a hand. So with that, we'll go ahead and move in and maybe answer any questions that are coming in.
All right, thanks, Jake. First question we have here is, how effective is retargeting? Do people actually click on that ad? Is it worth the money?
So I'm going to answer directly and then give a little bit of context. How effective is retargeting? In most situations, your retargeting campaign will be by far your most cost-effective campaign, because you're only showing ads to people that already came to your site and showed interest. So cost-effective, yes. Effective at actually getting people to sign up, yes. It's a great way to better monetize the traffic that you've already got coming to your site. And yes, people do click on it, but a lot of the times Google actually tracks view-throughs so that we can actually track and say, hey, they saw my ad, and even though they didn't click on it, they still came back to the site and signed up for the event. So you will have direct signups from it, but you also have indirect contribution as well. And those are fantastic, because if they didn't click on it, you didn't pay for anything, and then they came back to your site and converted anyway.
Great. Our next question, I have a very limited budget for advertising my event. Can I still use Google effectively with a small budget?
Yeah, so what I would say is small is relative. So depending on what that represents, if you've got a few $100s to go and invest, I would probably just set up a retargeting campaign at that point, or maybe a keyword or two on search. But there are some limitations, and Google can be an expensive platform to run on. But hey, you know what? If it gets you the results that you're looking for, budgets become flexible as you're seeing results. So I would say yes. Just depends on how much budget you've got to work with, but I certainly think that there are ways. Gmail sponsored promotions and retargeting are both very inexpensive. You could run a very effective campaign for under $500 a month if you were just using those two.
Okay, here's another one. How do you add keywords to your advertisement?
Okay, so there's a couple of things that you've got to do. First off, in AdWords itself, you can actually go and set up a campaign, and then you tell Google which words you want to show up for. Be really careful because there's a couple of nuances, so I'd recommend you either work with someone that knows what they're doing or do some research yourself, because if sometimes you got to put brackets or quotes around those keywords that you want to bid on. Otherwise, it'll match for a lot of different variations of what people type into Google. So anyway, you go pick out the keywords, type them in, add them to your campaign, and then because I'm not exactly sure what you're asking with the question, I also recommend making sure that those keywords are in your actual ad copy that shows for those keywords as well, so that there's a consistency between the keyword you're bidding on and the message within your ad copy.
Do you suggest a similar strategy for mobile?
Mobile is a great way to advertise. It's actually less expensive, clicks on a mobile device. However, you typically don't get as many people buying on a mobile device as you do on a laptop or desktop computer. And so there's a couple of things to keep in mind. Cross-device retargeting is something that can work really well. There's options to do that. So basically, if I came to the site on my desktop or laptop and then I'm on my phone, you can continue to retarget to those users. There are things that you can do there. If you have an event that you're willing to take a phone call, mobile can work extremely well. You can actually have a call-only campaign on mobile for people that want to call and sign up over the phone or do those types of things. Is a great way to leverage mobile as well. One thing to keep in mind with mobile, though, responsive sometimes is not enough. Just making sure that your page fits on a mobile device doesn't necessarily mean it's going to convert on a mobile device. Typically, you're going to want to present a different experience. And so that tool that I recommended called Unbounce, actually, you can create a desktop and a mobile version of your landing page as well.
Okay, great. Just a few more questions. What resource is available for a one-person nonprofit to learn about statistics relating to staying current with the effectiveness of marketing possibilities? So are there any resources that a one-person nonprofit team could use?
Yeah, you know what I would recommend is Google has actually provided an online training program that is absolutely free. You can go and learn the basics yourself. You can even take a test to make sure you know your stuff, which is also free, and become certified in using AdWords. That is a great place to start to build your knowledge and foundation. What you have to be careful with about that stuff is that, people that have been in the industry for a long time, like myself, a lot of that's where experience comes into play. And there's a lot of nuances within AdWords that if you don't know what you're doing, you can waste a lot of money. And so you got to be careful. But hey, you know what? That would be a great place to start to get a foundation and to learn some of that.
What's the minimum investment you would recommend to start, and over time, if your product is $200 per unit?
Okay, so I'm assuming that means your event is $200 cost to register, a minimum investment. So typically what you're going to want from a general business best practice standpoint, you want to make sure that costs align with revenue in certain ratios. So yeah, maybe it's $200 a unit, but is your event something that is going to happen again in the future, and the people that attended last time are likely to attend next year? Well, I bring that up as a question to ask yourself because you want to determine customer lifetime value. Yeah, maybe it's $200 for the initial transaction, but are they now participating in other things that causes the total value of that customer to be $500? So that's something to consider before working backwards in the math. Generally speaking, from a marketing standpoint, if you invest $1 in marketing, you're typically going to want to produce at least $3 in revenue. So take 200, divide that by 3, and that would be a good metric of, hey, at least it's working well enough. If you can get a 4-to-1 ratio out of that, you're typically going to be quite profitable, and a 5-to-1 or better would be fantastic. So in a 5-to-1 ratio, that means, hey, I spent $40 to produce a $200 registrant from my campaigns. Where you have to be careful is that sometimes people exclude themselves by thinking, oh, well, maybe that's too expensive. But keep in mind, the lifetime value of a paying customer is probably much greater than that initial transaction.
Okay. Back to retargeting. How and where does one add the script for retargeting on the landing page?
Yeah. So what I would recommend is using Google Tag Manager, where you would actually place inside. That's just one small snippet of code that you place on all of your pages. And then within the interface of the Tag Manager, that's where you can put your code for retargeting, for Google Analytics, for anything else that you're doing. That would be the best practice that I would recommend. Otherwise, you can just take that snippet of retargeting code and put it right within the body in the code on your page, and you're good to go. Typically, because retargeting you want on all pages, it's good to put in some sort of global footer or something like that, where you don't have to go put it on each page individually. You can just put it in one place, and it's on all pages.
Can you discuss old or outdated pages on Google for event companies?
Let's see, old, outdated events on Google. Really what it comes down to, and this is what we were talking about, you've got to get your targeting down. And where most people are making their mistakes is there's 2 elements that I'm looking for in a successful campaign. It's consistent. It's consistent with what they're actually interested in. And then there's a compelling piece in the ad copy and on the landing page. So whether that be the cause that you're promoting because of the event or something like that. What you want to be careful with is just not put up generic ads and generic, point them back to your home page or a generic landing page. Just make sure that it's a consistent experience so they know they found what they were looking for. And then secondly, yeah, they had a consistent experience, but give them something that really differentiates you, something that makes your event unique. And even if you only do the consistent element, you'll outperform 80 to 90% of your competition. You figure out some compelling elements to put in there, you'll blow them out of the water.
All right, thank you, Jake. Thanks for your time today. We didn't get to all the questions, so if you have any additional questions, please feel free to email Jake or hit him up on Twitter. And also, you can email me at jeff.liu@spingo.com. Again, thanks for coming, and we'll be having these monthly, and we'll be sending you invitations to them as we plan them. So thanks for coming.